Peep! What is up, ninjas? My name is Sam World, and it's a little bit funny how a lot of us spend up to $900 on Ableton Suite just to not use anything it comes with and instantly go for third-party samples and plugins. Now, my goal with this video today is going to be to create a tech house idea utilizing just stock Ableton effects and sounds. And again, for the beginners, hopefully this shows you a little bit of how you can go about in creating a tech house idea utilizing what you already have. And for the intermediate to advanced producer, it's just more of an idea of maybe you can use Ableton stock audio effects and make stuff that sounds decent. At the end of the day, I think if the idea is dope, it will sound dope whether you use a stock Ableton plugin or a bougie ass third-party plugin. With that being said, guys, let's get started with this video. Drums. In the world of tech house, the 909 drum machine contains some of the most used drum samples out there, and they're mostly used because they work and they give you the vibe that you're looking for. Now, the problem is that 909 drum machines can cost a hefty price, and thankfully the guys over at the Ableton headquarters were kind enough to sample it for us and provide a drum rack that we can use. So in order to access this, we're just going to go into our drums and we're going to type in 909. From there, we're going to kind of drag that into our MIDI, and we're going to have a standard selection of sounds that sound you can instantly recognize these sounds. Now, the problem with using this is the fact that a lot of people don't use it because they find it super difficult to get the tone out of it that you find in some of the sample packs out there, including mine, the Deceiver series if you want support. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to set up the drums. Now, for this, we're going to go maybe 126 BPM. It's not fast enough to get someone on ketamine rolling, but it's also not slow enough that no one can dance to it. So what we're going to do is just set up the 4 on the 4, probably the most basic thing, and it's why tech house is one of the easiest genres to really kind of groove to at the club. Now, to me, that doesn't really sound that convincing as a very strong kick. So what I personally like to do is I'll go into the bass drum. We're going to kind of bypass this new thing that the new Ableton has. And then from there, we're going to go into the controls and set up a filter. We're going to go with MS2 OSR. But essentially what we want is this drive function so that we can push the kick a bit further. Now it sounds more tech house certified. From there, the tuning of the kick drum, really it's up to you. If you want to sound like Fisher, put it really high up. And you're going to have the, you know, moving on the dance floor track kick, which is a very heavily saturated 909, of course. Okay, so from there, let's set up the clap. Now, the clap is usually going to hit on the 2 and 4 when it comes to tech house, just like any other genre of dance. So we're just going to kind of do that. And then later on, we might add a bit of additive claps to kind of make the idea a little bit more interesting. Now, again, the problem with using the 909 core kit that we get is that it's not processed and it's coming very raw in, so it doesn't really sound fat like you're used to kind of hearing. So what I'm going to do is, first off, I'm not a fan of that reverb. I'm going to lower sustain and use decay. Once I have somewhat of what I think sounds kind of cool, I'm going to use a saturator on the on the clap as well. Now you may be going, whoa, Sen, you're starting to saturate everything. And the reason I do this is just because I read an article a long time ago with this mixing engineer that said, you know, to the question of what's one mixing tip that you can give to anybody that they can benefit from. And the mixing tip was saturate the shit out of everything. But the thing about it is the fact that you can literally saturate your whole track. And as long as you're not overdoing it, you're going to get a lot more excitement and a lot more beefier sounds out of it. Now, of course, if you are heavy-handed, you know, even with a heavy hand, you can get into trouble out here in the real world. In the mixing world, it's kind of like the same thing. I can push the clap with a bit of drive. And I can push it if I want. And if you recognize this sound, you've probably heard it in a bunch of tech house tracks. Again, we just got to kind of lower down, gain stage down with the output. From there, the open hat is probably the more iconic part of the 909. As a sound designer, I have yet to recreate it. And it's literally the staple. It's kind of like the holy grail. Any open hat that I make for any pack of tech house that I've created, the 909 open hat is always there as a reference. And again, it's very hard to mimic it due to the way that it was created. According to people, it was sampled from a cymbal crash or something, and then it was shaped and processed, and God knows that's how you get the sound. But again, I've tried doing stuff like that, and it never comes nowhere near as close. Maybe I have the wrong person hitting the damn cymbal, I don't know. But from here, we're just gonna go into the 909 open hat. And as you can tell, there's a little bit too much release, so we're going to lower down the decay. Now, a fun fact here for intermediate to advanced producers, this is something really cool that I noticed in the programming of the 909 Core Kit that Ableton has provided, is the fact that when we go into the control section, there seems to be like this sample and hold LFO being applied to the pitch, shifting like pretty much 1% up in pitch and down, and the volume by 1%. Now, the cool thing is if we get rid of it, sounds fine, but when we put this, you can hear there's a little bit of change that occurs every hit. All right, cool. So from there, let's add some open hats. Or sorry, closed hats. Bass. Now in Ableton, we're going to have a couple of synths that we can work with, and literally just pick your poison. The one I personally like to work with is Wavetable, as it provides FM, it provides the analog synth, and it's going to be one of the more modern ones that Ableton recently released, and it's also a lot easier to work with, so that's where we're going to go with that. So from here, in theory, the meta of Tech House currently, it's a lot of square and saw basses. Now there might be a couple of FMs out there and all that, but at the end of the day, Tech House bass lines are very filtered most of the time, to the point where anything that can give you enough low end power will work. So we're gonna go with maybe like a saw for now, and we're gonna go down 24 semitone. There's a bit of release in the sound by default. From there, we're gonna mono it by clicking here. That just means one. So and then from there, we're gonna have a filter. Now the filter is what's gonna give the bass character. It's gonna shape it. So from there, it's safe to go into one of these filters that is modeled after, I guess, analog filters. And I'll be the first to say I don't know what they are, but hey, go for it. We're gonna add a bit of resonance to give this Tech House boost, as I say. We want a lot of mid-lows. And that's what it's going to sound like. Now, in my sound design work, what I've noticed is that utilizing two wavetables, one down an octave, like let's say a square can be low, and then oscillator 2 could be up an octave, gives me the best response, fattest bass I can possibly get. The reason for that is as I go to lower keys like C, it still sounds beefy, and if I play high, it still sounds fat, and my speakers can't handle the fatness. But then 12, more strict. We want very precise on this portion. From here, if you just want something like this and you want to kind of play, then you already have your bass. So from there, you just sustain. You can even go lower if you want to do. Maybe do like glides. But there's one step I forgot. Oscillator 2, which is supposed to be the saw, has to be lower. What I'm going to do is go into the matrix envelope 2, and I'm going to program that in by lowering down our sustain, and then from there the decay is going to control the punch of that filter, and we're going to go into our matrix now. Frequency, envelope 2. Okay, so from here, we're going to add a sidechain and just use a compressor for that. Now, I am going to say for this tutorial or video, whatever how you want to consider it, I am going to keep it generic just because I am doing this on the spot and I have no fucking inspiration to make anything unique of any sort. So we're just going to keep it kind of like meta-ish, aka what everyone else is doing. And then we're going to go again, of course. Bass comes back. All right, so again, like I said, we're going to keep it kind of generic. So the bass is sounding not as generic, but we'll follow it through and see how it sounds like at the end. Again, sometimes you just don't have to be that picky. From there, you know what we're doing? Saturation. So let's just add a bit. I go heavy-handed, dog. All right. Okay, so we have the bass saturated. Let's add a bit of compression. Now, when it comes to compression in Ableton, the compressor is just as fine, and it's meant for individual. I wouldn't use the glue unless you're trying to like glue stuff together. Duh. But the idea here is what I'm trying to achieve with the compressor is either two things. One, shape the bass. One, I want it to be punchier. So if I wanted that, the attack would be higher, like, I don't know, 54, 100. We can try. So essentially, the initial part of the bass is passing through, and the rest is getting clamped down. So it creates the illusion of like, if you overdo it. The other thing is sustain. So maybe you don't want the bass to be that punchy, but you still want it to do whatever it's doing. So then you might decide, no attacks then. I don't fuck. I'm too cool. Then you could do this. But to me, that sounds kind of newbie, and you can hear the compressor. So I'm going to go with the 54. Now we're going to EQ the bass, and again, I am going to get rid of a bit of the highs, which again goes to say, why did you open it so much? It's just, again, working forward. Instead of going back, you're moving forward. So that way, after this, I'm like, no more fucking with the bass kind of vibe. And that's just the idea of it. And we are going to add maybe a little mid-low. Synths. Now, when it comes to synths, of course, you can do whatever you want. You can have guitars, you can have a piano, you can have all kinds of stuff going on. What I'm going to do is the current meta, so just in case, you know, the people watching this just want to sound like everyone else. But no, it's just because, again, I'm not inspired to really make anything. So for this, I'm just going to go with what I know works. So I'm going to go with a wavetable. We have our bass. Let's be a little, like, organized, or else I'm going to have someone saying shit in the chat, like always. All right, so we're going to go with a saw. We're going to create a classic. We're going to go maybe 4 or 5 voices. And we're going to have that sound. So if you want to be like Fisher or whatever, then you have your sound. Okay. However, if you want to be fancy, then we can use an LFO, which I'll do for this track that we're working on. This little... There it is. My bad, guys. I'm noobing it up in the tutorial. All right, so we're going to do that. Again, very kind of traditional meta. We're going to go a little higher up just because I don't want to use too low of a sound because, again, soundscaping this out, the bass is already taking up a lot of real estate on the mid-lows and the lows. So what's the point of putting a super low saw? You can EQ it. It's going to sound kind of dense. So it's better to kind of go a little higher up. And that's going to be a lot easier to mix in there. So we're going to go with that. LFO 1. Let's go maybe a little lower. Let's go high. We're going to sync it. So that way it's like... There we go. So we'll start maybe here. And now let's right-click Show Automation. We automated for once in the song, which is something that makes the track feel more alive. All right. All right, and then we're going to increase the frequency so that way it's sort of like the LFO doesn't do too much after that. We're also going to use a saw, so it's more ta-ta-ta-ta. It sounds fresh. So again, on this, you know what we're doing. We're going to saturate it. Again, guys, you can't do any harm. Now, if you want to really make this push, then from there we can maybe use the overdrive. In fact, let's do that just to add a bit of flavor. We're going to go overdrive on this guy. Oh, man, that sounds good. I want more highs, though. Let's go dynamics, because I do want that. And then we're going to add a nice little reverb at the end of it. Halls is usually what you want to use for synths. It's the more popular. Let's go with a large one. We can always go back down. I am going to add a sidechain to this sound. Now, the theory behind this is the fact that the saw might interfere with the transient of the kick, the initial part. So that's the only thing that matters for us. So we're going to EQ this sidechain as it comes in, and we're going to go really high. Okay, there we go. Now I'm out of ideas. This is the part where it's like, what do I do now, dude? Let's create a white noise sound. I'll consider this a synth, just so I don't have to keep putting like little fucking fancy ass thumbnails like everyone else. Here, activate the noise, turn off the oscillators. There we go, fam. All right, so from there, lower the filter down. We're gonna put it high res. Oh Lord, have mercy. All right, we gotta hit. There you go, guys. I know it's annoying. Sorry about that. So we're gonna make a noise. Maybe no resonance. A little. We want it to last about here 8 seconds. So we'll do that. And maybe even higher. All right, we're just gonna EQ it. Some reverb for taste. Again, you can drown it if you want. This is how I make some of the ones for the packs. I do want that filter. And I'm already tired of that fucking annoying idea. Excuse my language, YouTube. I don't want to get censored. We're going to add a crash, 909 crash, because 909 is the holy grail. That's all we need. So we're just going to do that to kind of go with the, yeah. All right, we're gonna put this guy here too, because I'm in your future. I see art melody or something, because it's the easiest thing to kind of implement in a song. And then from there, we're just gonna have this. Oh, nope, yep. Just copy that over here, right? Again, from there we can maybe make the damn resonance just go down on this, so that way it's not like that. Maybe not too much. Maybe a little higher up too. All right, so let's make another main lead sound now. Again, I'm just going to keep it to the sauce because, again, when it comes to being inspired, then yeah, if you have the idea, it's like, oh, I want to incorporate this and that. When we're using stock Ableton, maybe like, you know, overcomplicating. You don't want to try anything too crazy because always think of how you're going to mix it. That's the thing. So, again, I'm also making a tutorial, so it's not like I'm going to be releasing this in like Tool Room or something and Mark Knight's going to play it out and be a pawn for a sec. So we're going to go with, we're just going to make this nice saw pluck. And envelope 2 is going to shape it. And we're going to go matrix on that frequency and then just put it up. We could do that. Again, just kind of seeing what we can kind of execute. Okay, we can mess with that maybe. That's just like ideas being thrown in there. Okay, let's quantize, just robotic. And let's make the filter go up. We're just gonna kind of set this in stone like so. So we go. And then we're gonna make this open up as well. Maybe get something fun. And then maybe the lead shouldn't be like, it shouldn't try to be like chapter and verse. It's really nice kind of delay to that part there to, yeah. Now, usually with this, I'm going to create one here so that way I can use it on other stuff. And the idea is just, again, so that when we don't have to automate the dry and wet down. We're gonna make another saw, but this one's just gonna be more for like a droney kind of saw, which is just gonna sustain. Again, just go classic, maybe shimmer. That one's a little too. Just to kind of bring in like more like idea, I guess. All right, we're gonna add this auto filter, and then we're gonna kind of add just something to make it move a bit, like this guy here. Lower down the rate a bit. And this one can be cued really nasty because it's not a main sound. Just want it for drone. I'm gonna. You know what it is? To cue this. Alright, that's nice. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is add some additive sounds to the 909 by utilizing the 808 drum machine, and we're going to call it a day on this. But again, as you can see, utilizing some of the synths inside of Ableton, we can create some very standard basic sounds. You can even take it even further by making it sound more intricate. I might decide to do something here just to kind of add bass accentuations and whatnot, but what I'm going to do here is just 808. And what I want is the perks from it, because the perks in the 909 kind of suck ass. So I want to add a shaker in here for some reason. So we'll use the maracas. And all I got to do is 16s. And we're just going to do this. And what I'm going to do is obviously velocity, how hard it's being hit. Usually the theory behind this is the first hit is not as much. And then you work your way up. You know what we're doing. We're going to saturate it. Oops. Yeah, we're going to saturate this. Again, just making it beefier. Saturation brings up a lot of frequencies, some that you might not want. So we're just going to. And then from there, I want to add an auto pan to make it sound more dynamicful. The other bad thing about utilizing Ableton like this is, I'm not going to lie, the drums are very monophonic. So how do you give them width? That's one of the hardest things I've had to deal with. I hate using the Haas effect on stuff. So from there, you might want to have layers. But again, once you have the 909, you have to really get some layers that are going to be mangled, or you're going to run into phase issues. So I don't know what the hell I'm... auto pan. There we go. So, there we go. This. There you go. Okay, cool. Let's see if the bass, just to kind of show you guys what we can do with the Ableton wavetable and call it a day, is we can add additives to this bass. And the way I'll do that is use the wavetable. And this is where, again, these other more like complex waveforms come into play. Here I am again on the third-party plugins. come into play. So I could do cool stuff like, you could find maybe a cool one like, let's do collection. We could do something cool like this, envelope 2. To shape it, we want more of a hit on this guy. There we go. And then just do something like, again, the release. And let's make this a little more, yeah. Just to give it like some nice kind of accentuation on the bass, and we can do that. Yeah, maybe on just those. And maybe a little brighter. I don't know. The problem is you have that massive thing on top. So if we didn't have that, this is how it would sound like. Alright guys, and we're going to end the video there as I'm running out of time here, but hopefully this kind of shows you what you can do with Ableton. The Wavetable synth, you can make massive bass lines with it, additive ones like we just did right now, basic leads that everyone else is using, made a massive bass, but when it comes to top lines, yo boys, yeah, not inspired right now for that kind of stuff. But again, hopefully just kind of seeing how to beef up the kicks helps in any sort of way. If you want to support me, you can head over to evilsounds.com where you can find all of my sound design work, Serum presets if you realize, you know what, you do need third-party plugins to an extent. But again, that's the best way to support me, guys, and I'll catch you guys next time for another video. Much love, take care, and peace out.